Welcome to another episode of AutoTech Effect 2020. I'm joined here today with Mike Vierzchalek, Director of Marketing from Vanguard Dealer Services. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate your time. So Vanguard is truly embracing digital media. Why is that, and what has it done for your company?
Great question. One thing when coming onto Vanguard, I realized that we didn't actually have a digital presence. So a year and a half ago, when they brought me on, that was a major focus for me. Digital is what everybody's talking about now, even from the automotive side of things. I come from a background where digital was very, very, very important. And coming into auto, it's just that I see the potential, huge amounts of potential. Being a digital dealer and all the, automotive trade shows, I'm seeing that the auto industry is a couple steps behind a lot of the other industries that I actually worked for.
Yeah.
So what that did is just the ideas just started generating on how we can actually help with brand awareness and just establishing the Vanguard brand across the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you describe your company's approach to marketing the automotive industry?
The approach is based off of brand awareness and getting in front of a lot of people that are really wanting to know more about what we do.
Right.
So from that perspective, we have to still work on audience identification and who's actually looking at our audience and who's looking at our material. So we are working with a couple different third-party platforms that can actually help us with that identification. We didn't actually have that previous. So all the data that we're getting is just taking us to that next level.
Right.
So it's just exciting to see what we can actually accomplish from that perspective.
Right. What is the biggest takeaway or lesson you have learned from embracing digital media?
The biggest lesson is that it's changing a ton in this industry, but also that not a lot of people are actually doing it.
Right.
Okay, so with that, it gives us the stepping to move forward faster than a lot of our competitors. It actually is setting us on the forefront of the automotive industry and how we can actually move the needle from just not even a marketing perspective, but from a sales performance perspective as well.
Right. What are some challenges about marketing to the automotive industry that you've seen?
Challenges would be the fact that there's not a lot of people on the B2C side or the consumer side of it that are really engaged yet. They're a little slower to the take. We have also a very mature audience that, I'll say the older people within the industry, the 60 to 70, the the ones that are stuck in their ways. And they're saying that, we don't need this digital. We actually are fine with our pens, our paper and our pens and stuff like that. And there's dealerships that are still using dot matrix printers. So it's tough for them to even take the notion and figure out that where this is actually will benefit a dealership or a dealer group or something like that. And just that getting people to get on the bandwagon of digital is just one of our harder things that we have to do.
Obviously, there's a ton of research that goes into marketing as well. What have you guys learned from the research that you have conducted?
Research. Okay. The data that we collect from doing all the different channels and all the different multi-channel marketing, we'll say. It's given us a lot of, like I'm saying, data, but what it does is it also helps with explaining the story behind marketing, so that when I take my numbers and I actually go to the executives that have been stuck in the older ways of, we're good with direct mail, I can actually show them that, by the way, look at the amount of impressions that we got on our website just from, geofencing a conference or, work and just really doing an email marketing campaign based around just welcoming the audience to signing up to the newsletter, right? So everything that we kind of do, it just helps make the story better. But also it gives us the ability to look at what's working and what's not.
Right.
Okay. And then, because we're throwing up a lot of things, that old phrase of throwing it up against the wall to see if it sticks, we're doing a lot of that. And a lot of it is sticking because, again, with the background I come from a pharmaceutical background. And so from that perspective, dealing with physicians and doctors and drug companies, there's a lot of restrictions, right? With all the regulations and stuff that have to happen with the drugs. So from that background, coming to here, I have it's like an open playground of all these things that I wanted to do throughout my career. Now it's go try it and see if it actually works. And it's doing a lot of working for us.
Yeah, that's definitely something we have found in our research as well, is that just trial and error makes a huge difference in knowing where your content is going, who's embracing it, who's absorbing it, and how it's getting out there. So yeah. So you touched on having to take your numbers to the executives who don't necessarily embrace digital media the way that you have.
Sure.
How would you describe some hurdles that you guys had to go through to, make it happen?
Well, again, the hurdles, just working with the older mentality that is within the industry, like I said before, it's having to just show them about that it actually brought impressions to the site, or that, it didn't relate directly to ROI yet, because there is this time lapse that has to happen, from the fact that when we send out a digital campaign, it actually has to bake, from just that perspective of it might take 3 months for the whole campaign to go through. And then after 3 months, then we'll take a look back at the numbers and the ROI. And then that's when I have to go and make my reports for the executives and say, by the way, look at this campaign. It either worked or it didn't. And they're like, well, if it worked, do it again and do it the same way. And it's like, well, we might actually want to do a little bit of A/B testing. And they're just like, wait, A/B testing? I'm like, yeah, we actually have to test subject lines to make sure that it just wasn't a one and done kind of deal. So we get into A/B testing, we get into multivariant testing, and a whole bunch of stuff that they're just like, slow down with the words, Mike, bring it back a little bit, help us understand what you want to do. So we do that. But from just social media itself, we even really brought that to the table this year. And everybody, we got the whole sales team involved with it. We got the executives involved with it, and they were just like, social media, we don't need it. We're fine. We're fine with what we're doing. And I said, well, actually, let's just take a look at the benefit. So the thing with, digital marketing, one thing that they do say is, like, from a B2C perspective, just to get a consumer to purchase, they say it takes anywhere from 93 to like 110 touch points. And now when you do touch points, it could just be a flash of a logo, just brand awareness that happens. And then so when they're going to make that purchase decision, they're like, oh, am I going to work with company A that I never heard from before? Or am I going to work with company B where I just keep seeing their brand awareness? Like all the brand campaigns, all the social media that I've come across, all the email campaigns, like that name just sticks with me. You know what I mean? So getting those 93 touch points out, it's not like I'm asking the sales team to send out 93 emails themselves. What we do is we actually have automation platforms that actually do it for us. So, email campaigns where it'll be a series of 12 emails over 3 months. It's not a lot yet, but it's not overabundance in the inbox. But we can actually say to them, we'll continue the campaigns, but you might want to follow up if we get the contact to fill out a form. That becomes the hot leads. But again, if they don't, we still have 80 more touch points that have to happen.
Right. Going off what you just talked about, do you have any advice for anyone in the industry who themselves are trying to embrace digital media and try to break through and hopefully not stick to the old traditional ways?
Sure. Social media is one of the, we'll say, cheaper marketing platforms, because setting up a Facebook account is free.
Right.
Setting up a LinkedIn profile is free, right? You can get into the paid stuff, but I would say start with something. Try it out. See if you can get the network to follow you. work on engaging your followers and just see what kind of engagement you are getting. And again, it doesn't cost you anything but time and effort to start. So that's an easy way to start.
So you discussed analytics. How does that lead to opportunities for your sales team and just Vanguard as a whole?
What we do is, with all the data and analytics that there are behind the scenes, Google's very smart, right? So what that does is it gives us the ability to look at audience identification. It's not just that somebody's hitting the website. We can actually see where they are in their buying cycle, or from what industry they're actually coming from. Do we care about the, ones that are identified as female and they're 18 years old and they're known to be watching movies? We see that, so we kind of weed that traffic out, but we're actually looking for the people that are automotive related, that are actually clicking on landing pages, that are staying on the page for minutes at a time. That's somebody who we find is an engaged consumer or prospect or even contact. So we take that and go back to the square one, kind of put them into what campaigns we find or deem necessary. It's helped the sales team tremendously, knowing that ABC Motors has come to our website and they sat on the tire and wheel program for Highline cars for over 3 minutes. And, did they take engagement and fill out the form? No. But that gives me the ability to, retarget those individuals with ad campaigns that might show more interest in the tire and wheel program.
Yeah.
So giving that and having that audience knowledge is just showing us leaps and bounds from where we were over a year ago. And it really helps us and the sales team, identify audience.
Right. How does that affect lead generation and business opportunities?
Just from a year-over-year look from our perspective, we'll say that, the numbers that I'm generating from a marketing perspective are kind of unheard of. I come from a background where 6% growth year-over-year was phenomenal for pharmaceutical. And I'm proud to say that, over 500% growth year-over-year in automotive is just opening the doors for us from just that perspective.
Yeah.
The opportunities that the sales team have received from just marketing has really showed a great tie-in that, marketing is actually necessary, and that the two sales division and marketing division can work together kind of seamlessly. And that's one thing that I'm very proud of at Vanguard. We're working as a team, and what it's doing is showing the crossover. Coming from a background where the sales team did its own thing and it was very siloed and didn't believe that marketing can actually help, this has proven, just from my own edification, how actually the two teams can work kind of almost seamlessly together.
Right.
And it's great.
I actually just read an article that you guys released not too long ago about how important it is that sales and marketing are on the same page and how much they really do help each other out in the aspect of lead generation and just brand awareness and everything.
And that's exactly where it came from. It actually came from looking at the metrics from year over year and just saying, is the sales team happy with what we've done? Yes. Is the executive team happy with what we've done? So we actually generated that based off of the fact that, we have seen pretty great growth with Vanguard. And it's just very exciting for where we are currently, because we've only scratched the surface.
Right.
And it's pretty great.
What is Vanguard's approach to onboarding new agents that are coming into this?
So as we bring on more agencies into Vanguard, one thing that we've established is a process of the onboarding process. Actually, we've titled it the onboarding process, which is kind of original. And what we do is we actually sit with all the sales force and the executives from the agency, and we have it's about 3.5 hours of just the benefits of marketing and how Vanguard's marketing will help move you forward with things within the industry. And one thing, as we do that and we explain how we're moving the needle for other agencies that we have under our umbrella, what we do is we'll explain to them about the fact that I go back to the 93 touches, and that it's not all you that are doing it. It's actually the marketing that's doing it behind the scenes, and you could just expect that kind of treatment moving forward. And we've seen just nothing but smiles, and they're like, wait, you're telling me that I don't need to send out? But that's what we've done. And I'm like, well, we've only sent out 5 because that's the only time I can do it, but we handle it for them. Another major piece of the presentation is social media. My marketing manager will actually sit there for an hour and explain the benefits of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Because Instagram, people love to take pictures of their cars.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of glorified pictures of dealerships where they put up their top-end BMWs or their Audi A8s. And they do that. And people like the glorified pictures. So pictures are also worth 1,000 words, right? So we actually don't engage from our perspective on Instagram as much from that. It's more of a behind the scenes kind of thing, that it shows the life of Vanguard. It shows the fun things that happen at Vanguard. And we use it from that company perspective. So LinkedIn is more geared for us as a business opportunity. It's where business professionals and the business people of the world, it's their social media network.
Right.
So we use that more for education and getting our messaging out there, from just educating the dealers on the end where they can do research and find answers to questions that they might have within the F&I process or F&I within a dealership. Facebook is the combination of the two. We will put out the blogs, and it helps promote the blogs that we produce on a weekly basis. And we also, if you want to engage with us that way, we're actually learning that, people are coming into Facebook, and they're coming into the groups, and they're coming into LinkedIn from just different research.
Right.
And they're all looking at it from different information. So we take that information and we kind of have to dissect it behind the scenes. And we are always changing the social media strategy just from that perspective of trying to help, educate, because we don't want to be, throwing up our brand all the time, and just because we do see that as hurtful to just reputation management, where people are like, oh, I'm so tired of looking at this. Yeah, but again, sometimes they say negative press is good press. Right. But how many times can you do that before you start watching your contacts leave? Exactly. Right. We have seen that within the industry. We have people that are out there on social media that are abusing their platform. People that are hitting the plus button on LinkedIn just to add more contacts. But what's it doing for you from an engagement perspective? You really have to take a step back and take a look at the numbers. You might be the 30,000 plus club? Right. Is that what it is on a something like that? Something like that. But if you're only getting 10 people to engage on your post every time you put it up, what is that math? Right. Is it I think it's 0.0003%? Yeah. I wouldn't consider that a good KPI. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not at all. Well, thank you, Mike, for sharing your story with us. We really touched on how influential digital media can be to the industry, and how companies that are embracing it are really advancing in their leads, and just how important it is for all the research and how it affects where the content is going. So I really appreciate your time with us, and thanks for being on here. I appreciate it.